I greet you all in the name of the Creator God and welcome to my channel Satyam Probes into Scriptures. Today's my topic is who are abomination in the sight of God. Whoever condemns the just and justifies the wicked as righteous, both are abomination in the sight of God. This is written in the book of Proverbs, chapter 17, verse 15. I have read. Though this is a known fact, as we observe in our daily routine life, I would like to quote a few occurrences from the scriptures. We see that innocent Joseph was sold by his own brothers to Ishmaelites and further as a slave to Potiphar, an officer of King Pharaoh. Joseph was a young boy, righteous, who feared God. He said to Potiphar's wife, as we see in verse 9, in chapter 39 from the book of Genesis, I am reading, how can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? So he was sent to jail by the crookedness of that woman. He came out and became the second man next to the king of Egypt. So what we see that we can recall from the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 15. He went from prison to the throne, though in his kingdom he was very poor. Perhaps Solomon has written after seeing the history of Joseph. What would have been the fate of Potiphar and his wife when they had to bow before Joseph? Were they not abomination in the sight of God for condemning the righteous Joseph? We are seeing this type of events happening in these days also. Another event I want to quote. David, who killed Goliath and saved Israelites under King Saul also, was innocent and righteous. Because of envy, Saul wanted to kill him, and leaving the governance, he was after David with his army. And Israelites treated David as a wicked and Saul as just and became abomination in the sight of God. When Saul, who was abomination in the sight of God, died in a battle, we see how Israelites went with all humility to David and made him king over the entire Israel. I would like to quote about Absalom, the son of David, who was the most abominable man as per book of second book of Samuel, chapter 16, verse 22. We see how nasty man he was. But Israel followed him, justifying to be good man to fight against David. When Absalom, who was abomination in the sight of God, died in the battle, how Israelites came to David. We read in the verse in the second book of Samuel, chapter 19, verse 3. A funny way it is written. The people stole into the city that day, as people steal in, who are ashamed when they flee in the battle. As we see in the New Testament, Pilate justified Jesus and wanted to release him and write off all the complaints that were made against him. But the Pharisees, scribes, Sadducees, and all the Jewish people wanted that Pilate had to release Barabbas for them instead of Jesus. But Barabbas was a criminal, was justified by these people, and Jesus, who was righteous, was condemned. In both the cases, we see Jesus' case and Barabbas' case, Pharisees, scribes, Sadducees, and Jews have made such a bad thing that they were abomination in the sight of God. We study in the history how these people suffered, how they were punished by God later, because they brought the curse upon themselves by their own words. In the book of Matthew, chapter 27, verse 25, we read, all people answered, his blood be upon us and our own children. So, this was made true by God. We see that righteous Stephen was condemned as wicked by the Jews unreasonably for speaking the scripture on behalf of Jesus. Stephen was stoned to death. He was put to death by Jews and Saul witnessed it. Later, Saul was used by God for the service. All the days of the life of Saul, he suffered as said by God. Acts chapter 9, verse 15, 16, I am reading. Lord said to Ananias, go, for he is a chosen instrument of mine, for I will show him how much he has to suffer for the sake of my name. It is written in the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 1. Do not judge. It's also written in the epistle to James, epistle of by James, in the chapter 4, verse 14, 4, verse 12. Who are you to judge? Accordingly, we are not the authorities to judge anyone. But in the democratic country, every voter has the right to vote and elect the leader of his choice, which means the voter is judged here. In the recent elections, what I observed, we read as per statistics, it is understood that in our country there were 97 crore voters out of the total population of 140 crores. Let us not talk about those 43 crore people who do not have the right of voting, as there can be several reasonable reasons. If we see further, the people who voted were only 66%, which means only 64 crore people voted. As we see in these 64 crore people, where are we? Are we those in the 64 crore people who went for voting, or are we in the 33 crore people who have not gone for voting? It is said by the political analysts that the people who do not go for voting are one of the major reasons for damage caused to states as well as to the country. Secondly, the parties which have formed the government have got 42.5% voting out of 64 crore people who voted, which means the leaders elected by 27 crore people of the country formed the government, which is equal to 19% of the total population. So, in every election, approximately 20% of the total population decide the fate of the entire country, as we understand. Now, let us see about the people who have gone for voting. Whom you have voted? The person whom you have justified is good and worthy or wicked and harmful, whether we were abomination to God or good in the sight of God. Let us analyze ourselves. It is written in the book of Psalms 139, Psalm, and verse 21. Lord, do I not hate them that hate you? So, in conclusion, what I want to say is that those are abomination in the sight of God. We are not supposed to encourage and become abomination to God. Let us hope the Lord be with us. In the glorious name of the Creator God. Amen.